up? It's Drini here with a video on how you can get into crow pose, otherwise known as bakasana. First, I'm going to be showing you some strengthening exercises for your core and your upper body. I'll be breaking the pose down, and I'll also give you some advanced variations. If you're still fairly new to this pose, I suggest you grab a block, and if you don't have a block, you can grab a thick book around this size. All right, let's get started. To start, let's come on to our hands and our knees in tabletop position. Have your hands directly underneath your shoulders, knees underneath the hips, and take a moment to direct the pointer finger forward. From that, spread through the fingers and then claw down on the fingertips. Now drop the belly, lift the chest and chin, look up. Keep the arms straight here and find the opposite of that. Round the upper back, release the neck and the head, and feel your belly button draw in towards the spine. This is what I want your upper body, especially your back, to feel when you're in crow pose. Okay, so we're gonna challenge ourselves a little bit more. From this pose, I want you to curl your toes under, and then keep the rounding of the upper back. Just lift the knees a few inches off the ground. Yes. You want to feel your core turn on here as you draw the navel up and in. Keep pressing the ground away for 3, for 2, keep breathing, and 1. Push the hips up and back, downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, take a breath. Reach your right leg all the way up, point through the right toes, and on an exhale, plug the knee into the tricep. Try to get it as high as possible, and then pause. Keep pressing the ground away. Find the cat in the upper back, rounding the spine. Breathe. Inhale, reach it back up. Exhale, pause. I'm going to add something onto this pose. Inhale here, exhale again, plug it all the way up to the upper tricep. Inhale, reach the knee down towards the wrist, and then exhale, plug it back in. Just notice where your heel is. Is it down low here? If it's down low, plug the heel up towards the glute. That's it. Reach the right leg all the way up, and then exhale, take the right foot down. Breathe in downward facing dog. And let's try it on the other side. Left leg reaches up, point through the toes. On an exhale, shift forward, shoulders over the wrist, knee to tricep, pause. Find the rounding of the upper back. Breathe. Inhale, reach the knee down towards the wrist. Exhale, plug it back in. Feel the navel draw in. Draw the heel up towards the butt. Inhale, reach the left leg all the way up, and then exhale, downward facing dog. Give yourself a rest in child's pose. Knees down, forehead down, and pause. Find your breath. Okay, slowly lift yourself up. I just wanted to let you know that sometimes that can be challenging, especially if you've never done it before. So do your best, and the more you do it, the easier it gets. I have one last strengthening exercise to offer you, and it is really good for the abdominals. I love it. I call it dead bug sit-ups. You ready for that? All right, let's get started on our back. Once you get on your back, straighten out your arms, lift them up, and then squeeze them in towards the center. From there, flick your fingertips back. I like to imagine that the ceiling is falling down and I don't want it to collapse on my face. Then draw the knees all the way up into the triceps. Notice when you do that, the hips and the lower back lift off the ground. Keep that, and then just lift the shoulder blades off the ground as well. Keep squeezing all the way in as you draw the knees towards the center. Draw the belly button in towards the mat. Pause. I'm going to take you now into a flow linking movement with breath. On an inhale, extend both arms and legs. Keep them hovering off the ground. Lower back tacks down. Exhale, plug the knees back into the first position. 2 more. Inhale, open. and exhale. Last one, inhale, open, exhale, crunch and pause for 3, for 2, and 1. Release, take a breath. Let it out the mouth. So now I'm gonna break down crow pose for you. Let's start in a squat malasana. Have your toes out, heels in, and they're as wide as the edges of your mat. Sink your hips down. Now, if they're way up here, don't worry about it. Then I'm gonna ask you to grab a block later. Hanging out in malasana with your elbows, pressing your knees open and hands in prayer position. Take a breath. Ideally, you stay here longer to start opening up the hips. And let's now start to get into crow pose. I'm gonna place a block underneath me so I can get my knees all the way up as high as possible outside the underarms. I see a lot of people draw the knees all the way here, but I find that it slides down, and there's this little technique that allows you to press the knees in towards the center. Super helpful. So let's start on our blocks. Place your feet on the block, hands shoulder width apart, press down on the fingertips. Notice when I'm on the block, I get a little bit more height. My knees are way up high. Plug them in, squeeze them in, and I draw the elbows in as well. Elbow tips reach back and they hug in towards the center. Around the upper back, and I look forward towards the front edge of my mat. I draw my core up and in, my belly button up and in, I should say, and then I start to tip forward a couple of times, just feeling it out because you really want to shift your weight forward. Now, from that, maybe you then start to test the waters out a little bit more, lift one heel off the ground and then the other. Really important that you point the toes and plug the heel up towards the glute. From here, you lift one foot off and then maybe the other. And I'm sure you've heard it before that there's this whole idea of rooting down to rise up. So in this pose, you really want to press down on the palms and feel a lift of energy. We call that hasta bandha, and a lift of energy in the abdominals as well. We call that uddiyana bandha, the abdominal lock. So I'm going to show you the difference when you're not engaging it and show you what it's like to engage it. I'm going to take the block aside. You can very well still use it. I'm going to assume crow pose bakasana. And this is me dumping all my energy down. I'm really struggling here. But instead, I press down on my palms, around my upper back, squeeze the elbows in, squeeze the knees in, and I'm in the more advanced variation called crane pose. Now that takes time, so I don't expect you to do that right away, but through time, that is what you can work towards. If you're completely new to this pose, I understand that there is a common fear of face planting. And I get it, it's completely normal. If that's you, I suggest that you grab a block and place it right underneath your forehead. So if you need to, the block is there to catch you. Boom. And if you need to, you can press down on the forehead, re-engage the core, and start to lift up. So that's always a little technique, sort of like training wheels to get you into the flight of bakasana crow pose. If all of that was going well and you need an extra challenge, here's one leg crow, ekapada bakasana. From crow pose, you want to bring one knee in towards the side and then bring it back. Try the other side. If that's going well, bring the right knee in back to the center, press down on the hands, squeeze the elbows in, press down on one knee to extend the back leg diagonally across, and then take it down. So I know that's challenging, and like I said, it does take time, so be patient with yourself, do what you can, practice, and all is coming. Thank you so much for watching, and if this was helpful for you, give it a like, share it with your friends, and make sure you subscribe to Journey TV because I'll be sharing more videos just like this. All right, I'll see you next time. Namaste.